Welcome to our sixth video in our series, Imperfect Characters of Faith, where we get to look at characters of faith and see that so often they didn't have everything all together, just like you and me, and yet God still works in their lives. And today we're going to have a look at the character of Jonah. Jonah is the one who just wanted to run away. I guess sometimes we know what we should do, or God has asked us to do something, and we just go, oh no, I can't face this. I don't want this to be the case for me. For Jonah, he was asked to go and deliver a message that was really hard. He was going to go and ask people to turn around, to repent and start again. And he ran away. And it was as if Jonah was due to go in this direction, and immediately he ran to a ship to go in that direction. And as he went off in that direction, he was on the ship, and this massive storm occurred that night. And the sailors knew he was running away from the Lord, and the sailors just knew that something was wrong. And this storm had come up from nowhere, and the sailors were afraid they were going to be drowned. And Jonah realized that this was going to be the case, that everybody was going to get damaged for him not following the Lord. So Jonah pipes up, and Jonah says, why don't you throw me overboard? And the sailors, they didn't want to do anything to harm Jonah, but that's what they did. They threw him over the side after a while. And as you know the story, Jonah was swallowed up by a whale for 3 days, and he prayed and then was spat out again. And he had that new start with God. And when Jonah then went to Nineveh, he spoke God's message, and the people responded. You see, Jonah is one of those stories that absolutely reminds us that God's purposes will be worked out. Sometimes we want to run away. Sometimes in that running away, we put others in danger, just like Jonah put those sailors in danger. And yet those sailors got to know something more about God. And they got to know how God was with them too in the midst of the storm. And for Jonah, in the midst of the belly of the whale, as he prayed, it's one of these most amazing prayers that asks God to restore him, to forgive him, and help him to move on. And Jonah then gets to move on, and he gets to do what God has asked him to do again. But the story of Jonah has another twist in it. As the people now listen to what God was saying through Jonah, and they respond and repent, Jonah just gets really cross. He's really upset. He's really sad. It's because God had actually done what he was going to do. You know, sometimes when we follow what God is asking us to do, we can have all kinds of reactions. And God needed another conversation with Jonah for Jonah to be put right with him, for Jonah to understand God's graciousness and understand what God was wanting to do through him. If you are not understanding this day what God is wanting you to do, or you're not wanting to do it, or maybe you misunderstand how it's going to work out, you're in good company. You're in Jonah's company. And once you once again just choose to listen to God, to stop. For Jonah, it was forced upon him in the whale, and then it stopped just after that conversation in Nineveh. Why don't you just pause and stop and ask the Lord just to meet and encourage you? Why don't you choose to just trust the Lord again and see how he works in and through you? At the end of the story of Jonah, the implication is that Jonah's faith and trust will have grown, but his understanding would still have been not fully there. Why? Because God's ways are higher than our ways. And so to have full understanding, isn't always a goal as a Christian. We won't have full understanding till the other side of heaven. But what we need to do is, despite our little understanding, is to follow what God is saying, to be amazed at how he works, to be surprised at how he works, and not be resentful, but be able to bless as he works in and through you. Why don't you enjoy just reconnecting with God and what he's doing today? And why don't you enable him to speak through you and be amazed at what he might do?